Hey, Mike. What? Who's got next?
What's good, y'all? It's your man, Hezo, and welcome back to the Blacktop, where I always got next, you feel me? So we are back at it with another Hawks recap, and I feel like it's been a minute since I've done a recap, man. I've just been getting other videos out. The Hawks had a couple late games with LeBron breaking the record and everything. I've just been watching a lot of other hoops, and I really haven't had time to get another recap out, so I apologize for that. Recaps are going to be still coming and everything. Y'all don't worry. I appreciate everybody who tuned into the pregame live stream. As always, we had a lot of great conversation. We got 2 new memberships, man, which is a huge dubs. Shout out to my man Teflon and my boy Brandon. I appreciate y'all heavily. If y'all want to become a member, the link is in the description, so y'all make sure y'all check that out. Be sure to subscribe if you are new. Drop a like on the video. And let's get right into it. So no Devin Vassell for the Spurs in this one. Obviously, we know Bruno, Garrison Matthews, and Saddiq Bey were not active tonight, as the Saddiq Bey trade is still pending. If y'all have not had a chance to check that out, go take a look. We talked about all that in the live stream. This game started out, and DeAndre Hunter, man, really came to play. He was aggressive from start to finish. He had a big first quarter. He was getting to the paint, and the Hawks really just dominated the paint entirely, really the whole first half and a huge part of the game. But the Spurs kept hanging around, man. I mean, the Atlanta defense was so poor tonight, especially mainly in the first half. They did ramp it up in the second half, but the first half defense was just bad in general. Shohan looked really good in the first half. Keldon Johnson was carrying. Those 2 guys for the Spurs were pretty much doing everything in the first half for San Antonio. Atlanta had a handful of sloppy turnovers, and it was really just biting them, kind of biting them in the back. And it was really back and forth for the most part of the entire first half. Atlanta went up like as much as 10 points, but then the Spurs went on their run, went on like a 15-4 run or something like that, got right back into the game, and then eventually took like a 6 to 8 point lead. And it looked like the Hawks were just going to fall into one of those trap games with San Antonio coming off of a double overtime back-to-back against Detroit last night. I'm thinking, come on, man, like, what are you doing out there? The Hawks didn't really look great in the first half. I was really like, I was starting to scratch my head, man. Like, is this going to be one of those games that we fall to another bad team, a 14-win team? Are y'all really going to go out like that? Hawks led only 1 going into halftime. Second half started, Atlanta came out with a lot more energy on defense, forcing missed shots, cleaning up the boards, and they controlled the glass for the most part tonight. A lot of offensive rebounds. They didn't really let San Antonio get to the offensive glass, which was great to see. DeJounte, after really struggling in the first half, got it going in the second half. He started to knock down his shots, started to knock down that mid-range, started to knock down his 3-ball, and just looked a lot more comfortable in the first half. Or I'm sorry, in the second half. In the first half, he just didn't really look like, I don't know, it was just something about him. Maybe it was kind of nerves playing his old team for the first time, but he looked a lot more comfortable in the second half, got to his mid-range, and just started knocking down shots. Atlanta clamps up on the defensive end, go on a huge third quarter run. It was like a 14-2 run or something like that to jump out to a 10-point lead, and really from there, Atlanta didn't really look back. San Antonio made some plays, made some shots, but really just were never able to climb fully back into the game. They went down by as much as like 22, 23 points late in the fourth quarter. And really the fourth quarter was all Atlanta. I mean, knocking down shots. Trey was incredible playmaking the ball. He had some turnovers. I'm going to talk about that in my final takeaways. That third quarter for the Spurs really just shot them in the foot. It was just poor offensively for the Spurs the entire quarter. They shot like 25% or something from the field. It was pretty bad, and that's where Atlanta really took control and created this space to really pull away from, in the fourth quarter. And then again, they just dominated in the fourth quarter entirely. Guys were getting involved. DeAndre Hunter had an excellent game. JC had a pretty solid game. DeJounte ended up with a decently solid game after really struggling in the first half. Trey was doing kind of everything. He was scoring. He was playmaking. So just a great team effort tonight. Even though the bench didn't play well, I'm going to talk about that in my final takeaways as well. Just a great team effort tonight, and this was one of those wins that you had to go and get, right? I mean, we're right before All-Star weekend. We got Charlotte on Monday and then the Knicks on Wednesday, and then we're into the All-Star break. So we had to get a win tonight on a 2-game win streak now. So we'll see if we can keep it going forward. So I'm going to get into my final takeaways for the game. Not a super long recap, but part of that is because Atlanta just dominated most of the second half. So number 1 was the lack of the bench play. outside of Bogey, we really did not get a lot of production from the bench. AJ really struggled tonight shooting the basketball. Jalen Johnson didn't really do too much out there. Okongwu had a couple nice buckets, you know, in a pick and roll on dunks and everything, on putbacks. But overall, the bench was just not really very productive tonight. It was the starters that really carried the load. And this is where one of those games that is going to come in handy for a guy like Saddiq Bey. We're praying the trade goes through. I know a lot of Hawks fans really like that deal as well as I do. But this is going to be one of those games where, you know, it's kind of those trap games where a bench guy like Saddiq Bey, who's more than likely going to come off the bench, can come in and just come out and get buckets. The bench does have to be better going forward. Now, I know this is, you know, just one of them games. Maybe, you know, AJ just had an off night. Jalen really didn't do too much. But other than Bogey, guys got to step up, and it was nice to see Bogey having, you know, kind of get back into a shooting rhythm, because he's kind of struggled recently, but he got kind of back into a rhythm, hit a couple threes, hit a couple mid-ranges, so he looked relatively solid tonight as well. So number 2 is Trey's playmaking. He finished with a season-high 17 assists, one shy of his career high, and he was really just finding everybody, finding guys on cuts, finding open shooters. He hit Dre with a couple beautiful passes, and Trey has really done a great job over the last couple of games of playmaking and getting guys involved. The only negative thing I have to pick about that, you know, with the way he's been playing, is his turnovers. He had 5 turnovers again tonight. He had 9 turnovers against Phoenix, and that's just, you got to be better taking care of the basketball. A lot of these turnovers are unforced, and I get it. He's doing the playmaking. He looks great. He's getting a ton of assists. He's racking up the assists. But that only goes so far if you're turning the ball over a handful of times. And that's a lot of the reason why San Antonio was able to get back in the game at certain points. Phoenix was able to kind of hang around for certain points. When you turn the ball over, you know, 5 to 7 times, you know, somewhere around there, that's just a bad look, especially against a team that's a terrible team, going to be in the running for Vic. And then the Suns, who are pretty much missing, you know, half of their roster. When you're turning the ball over that many times, it's just not a good look. He's got to clean that up going forward. But on the bright side, he is getting guys involved, so that is just a beautiful thing to see. So number 3 and final takeaway is the second half execution. And this has been one of those, you know, kind of areas where we've been great sometimes and we've been poor for the majority of the time. Well, tonight was one of those great times, because we had a great second half overall, really clamped up on defense, got guys involved, you know, a great offensive second half for the most part. I think I actually almost predicted the score right. I predicted 122-109. It was 125-106. So I was short 3 points on both sides, but I'll take that. But a great second half execution. You know, Keldon Johnson had, I think, 19 points in the first half. He didn't have a great second half, and same thing with Shohan, however you want to pronounce his name. I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's something like that. And I like the kid's game. He is a defensive guy, but he just settles a little bit too much for the 3-point shot. And he's not a great 3-point shooter. He airballed a couple threes tonight, which, I mean, I was happy about, but he had a great first half, did not play well in the second half. I think he only had a couple buckets, and you have to credit the Atlanta defense for that, because they really stepped up in the second half, and that was a huge reason why Atlanta was able to pull away, forcing turnovers, getting out into transition, getting stops, and knocking down shots. So great execution in the second half, but we needed that against a team like San Antonio, who has 14 wins. I expected that. I did not expect this game to be close. It was close in the first half, but we pulled it out, dominated the second half, came out with a big dub. I'm gonna pretty much leave it there, man. Not really too much more to go into for this game. We got the Hornets on Monday, so y'all tap in for the game recap after that. I am gonna be doing, dropping a recap for that, so y'all be on the lookout. I know I've been kind of lacking lately, but we're gonna do better, man. We're gonna try and get back to these recaps. Again, the reason for that is because I've been just trying to get a lot of other content out, not just Hawks related. So I apologize to my Hawks fans, but I do want to cater to everybody. I want to talk about the trade deadline. I want to talk about LeBron breaking the scoring record. You know, so there was other videos that I did have planned, and there's a couple other videos I do have planned going forward, so y'all be on the lookout. But the recaps are still here. We're gonna do a recap Monday night. We are gonna do a Wednesday night recap as well, so y'all check those out. Leave your thoughts down in the comments. What did y'all think about overall for this game? Where do you see us going into the All-Star break? Do you think we're gonna end on a win streak? Hopefully we do. We can win, 3-4 games in a row going into All-Star break. That would be a great, kind of a great lift for the second half of the season. Leave a like on the video, and I will catch y'all next episode.